Every year, thousands of books are published about one man. He wrote no books, commanded no armies, and held no political office. Yet, his life is the axis upon which Western history turns. But behind the name Jesus lie two distinct identities. To the historian, he is a man of the earth, bound by the gravity of first-century politics and Jewish law. To the believer, he is the Christ, the Anointed One, who exists outside of time. For decades, these two versions of Jesus have been at war in universities and churches. Today, we are ending that war. We are going to use the tools of modern science, archaeology, linguistics, and the criteria of authenticity to reconstruct the man from Nazareth. But we won't stop there. We will also explore the profound mystical depths of his message, the secret sayings that suggest he wasn't just teaching a religion, but a path to a total transformation of human consciousness. Let's begin with the science. To find the historical Jesus, we must treat him like any other figure from antiquity, like Socrates or Julius Caesar. The socio-economic reality. Let's take a look to the geography of Galilee. It was a region of intense agricultural production, but the people living there were often starving. Why? Because of the Roman extracting economy. The historical Jesus grew up in a world where Jewish peasants were losing their ancestral lands to wealthy elites favored by Rome. The Tekton archetype, the Bible calls him a Tekton. In the social hierarchy of the time, this wasn't a middle-class job. A Tekton was often a dispossessed peasant, someone who had lost his family farm and had to travel from village to village looking for work. Scientific theory, the cynic-like philosopher. Some scholars, like those of the Jesus Seminar, compare him to the Greek cynics. These were wandering philosophers who rejected material wealth and spoke truth to power. This historical Jesus was a countercultural figure. He ate with tax collectors and sinners, not just to be nice, but as a radical political statement. In a society of strict purity laws, Jesus' open table fellowship was an act of social revolution. He was breaking the walls between the clean and the unclean, the holy and the profane. How do we separate the man from the later myths? Historians use three primary scientific criteria. Multiple attestation. If a story appears in Mark, the Q source, a lost collection of Jesus' sayings, and the Gospel of Thomas, it is highly likely to be historical. For example, the kingdom of God. It is everywhere. It is the core of his historical DNA. Linguistic divergence. When we translate the Greek Gospels back into Jesus' native Aramaic, and the words rhyme or form a poem, we know we are hearing his actual voice. The criterion of discontinuity. If Jesus says something that contradicts both the Judaism of his time and the later Christian church, it is almost certainly authentic. Why? Because nobody would have invented something that made everyone uncomfortable. A prime example is his stance on family. The historical Jesus said, "Leave the dead to bury their own dead." This was scandalous in a culture based on family honor. This historical Jesus was a disruptor who demanded that your primary loyalty be to the truth, not to your social or biological ties. But science only takes us so far. To understand the deep Jesus, we must look at the mystical tradition. In 1945, in the sands of Egypt, a jar was found containing the Gospel of Thomas. Unlike the biblical Gospels, Thomas has no story, no birth, no death, no resurrection. It is only 114 secret sayings. Here, the message of Jesus becomes purely mystical, almost Zen-like. Saying 3 of the Gospel of Thomas. If your leaders say to you, "Look, the kingdom is in the sky," then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, "It is in the sea," then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is within you, and it is outside you. This is the bridge. The historical prophet who fought for the poor is also the mystic who tells us that heaven isn't a location, but a state of awareness. The concept of the light. In Thomas, Jesus says, "I am the light that is over all things. I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood. I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there." This isn't the biblical Christ who is separate from us. This is a mystical Jesus who says that the divine is woven into the very fabric of reality, the wood, the stone, and the human heart. Every 20-minute discussion of Jesus must face the cross. This is where the two figures collide with the most force. The historical reality. Pontius Pilate was not the conflicted man we see in some movies. History tells us he was a brutal prefect who was eventually recalled to Rome for being too violent. To Pilate, Jesus was just another troublemaker from Galilee. The historical Jesus was executed for the crime of seditions, claiming to be a king in a land where only Caesar was king. The biblical and mystical meaning. But to the writers of the Bible, this wasn't a political failure, it was a cosmic victory. The biblical Christ uses the cross to trample down death by death. If we look at this through a mystical lens, the crucifixion is the ultimate metaphor for the death of the ego. To follow Jesus is to die to your selfish desires so that a universal self can be born. This is why he says, "Take up your cross." He isn't asking for a physical execution. He is asking for a radical internal transformation.
As we conclude our journey, we realize that the historical Jesus and the integrated Jesus are not opponents, but harmonious parts of a greater truth. The historical Jesus, rooted in time and space, walked the earth as a Jewish teacher, a healer, and a voice for the marginalized. His teachings transcended cultural barriers, echoing through generations, molding spirituality as we perceive it today. His profound impact is undeniable, woven into the very fabric of human history. Yet, there's another aspect, the integrated Jesus, who lives within personal experiences and diverse cultures across millennia. This Jesus is seen as the embodiment of hope, compassion, and transformative power, transcending religious boundaries. He's been adapted, reinterpreted, and seen through countless lenses, yet the core essence remains, a beacon for love and unity among humanity. As modern people navigate life's complexities, the integrated Jesus serves as a unifying force, bridging ancient wisdom with contemporary understanding. In him, we find an eternal dialogue between the past and present, an ongoing story that continues to unfold. This broader Jesus calls us to action, inspiring empathy and change in our interconnected world. Our journey does not end here. Rather, it extends into our everyday lives, challenging us to integrate these insights into our own stories. As you reflect on this journey, consider how the historical and the integrated converge in your own narrative. Open your heart to the wisdom of the ages while embracing a Jesus who is alive within diverse traditions today. In this integration, may you find inspiration, purpose, and a shared path toward peace and understanding. Thank you for joining us on this exploration.